welcome back to Good Morning La Land. If you've ever wanted to live a life of unconditional love, you're not going to want to miss this interview. Karen Lorre is with us today, telling us all about yummy meditation. Thank you so much for sharing your light and your story with us. We're really excited that you're here with us this morning.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your journey to discovering what meditation meant and did for you.
I wanted to learn to meditate like 27 years ago, and I met this girl, and she was a meditation teacher, and she needed some help from me, so she came and she taught me how to meditate. And the third day I meditated, I had this incredible experience where I saw everything in my life, and I knew how everything related to everything, and I saw how it all was perfect, and I was just in this incredible place, and I felt like I loved everything that had ever happened to me and everyone in my life. And I was working on a soap opera at the same time, and I went to the show, and there were mirrors in the dressing room, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, I have a rash on my forehead. And the woman next to me, she'd been meditating at that time for like 30 years, and she said, honey, you just started meditating, right? And I said, yeah. And she goes, that's not a rash, that's your third eye. And
Wow.
and what happened was my third eye opened, and it was literally like Rudolph all day, where you couldn't cover it up with makeup or anything, and it was so red. But what was happening was I was just so in love with everyone, and I just saw the beauty in everyone, and it was just this beautiful experience. And it didn't last, but it set, I wanted that more, it was the best feeling I'd ever experienced at that point.
I think it's a great point that sometimes we reach states in our practice or whatever we get so high, literally, in those places, and then you want to sustain them, and sometimes you have to go, we're here for a human experience, right? So how do you deal with that now that you're not always able to stay in that state?
Well, now I am able to stay in that state.
You are? Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I've found a way to stay in that state, but at the time I couldn't, and it was so painful to be in and out, because when you love everybody and then you don't, that sucks. That doesn't feel good. But so then I've just practiced. You know what I did? I was realizing that the energy of obsession can be used for someone or against someone. You can use it as the obsession itself is actually a vehicle. It doesn't have to be a vehicle for destruction like most people use it. It can be a vehicle for love or for connection or for divine communion. And that's what I did. Is I said, I'm going to take that vehicle of obsession, and I'm going to implant my desire for communion with all that is what I believe to be divine, and I'm just going to rest in that. And I just started to practice that, and I got so good at it that I have little divots where I'm not in it, but they're so tiny that it doesn't bother me. And you get such clarity, like I've heard from the universe, or whatever you call it, God, love, whatever. One time I was really upset about something, and I said, da 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 da, I cussed. And then, I heard the universe say, you're so adorable. And the minute I heard that, I was like, oh my God, the love that's coming in is so unconditional. It's so powerful. How can I go against that towards myself because I've done something wrong or I was a little off? And I started to practice knowing how not just I am adorable when I do something off, but everybody's adorable when they do something off. And so then it changed my whole understanding. So I didn't get afraid of negative emotion, but then because I'm not afraid of it, it doesn't bother me, and then it goes away quickly.
You don't feed it.
Yeah, you don't feed it.
Gives me just shivers hearing that. One of my favorite expressions of all time is love God and do what you want. Because when you love, you can even replace God with the word love. Love love, or love source, love life, and do what you want. And I hear that coming through in what you're saying. And how does a person get there? It sounds like you practice meditation consistently, especially even when you're outside of that vortex, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about that, how you eventually, went from having this incredible transcendent experience, being out of it for a moment, and then getting back there?
I think that I have done a lot of meditation, and I used to, when I first started out, I would do 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon of meditation. Deepak Chopra also trained me to do it, and so I would be doing this meditation, and you just get, you were talking about you can't quiet your mind, but your mind can be quieted. I don't silence my mind, but my mind gets quiet, and the more I practiced, the more my mind would just become tranquil and easy. And so I guess practicing, I mean, really it's practicing. And practice, the word practice in French is répéter, repetition. You know, it's just literally doing something with some consistency. Because every time you do it, if you're paying attention, you find yourself more and more aware. Your awareness increases with whatever you're doing. And as your awareness increases, you just get better and better and better at whatever it is you're going for, whether it's, you know, any creative thing or any physical thing or meditation or love. It just keeps getting better and better.
One of the things I love about you is that you really have a great understanding of the brain science behind this, the mind and the body connection. Tell me a little bit about that.
I loved, as a little kid, I loved the way science was starting to understand how the mind affects the body, and I studied that in college, psychobiology it was called at the time, and then I became an actress, and it was so fascinating as an actress because I would embody a character. I played on a soap opera once a character who was pregnant, so I wore ever-increasing pillows with a leotard, you know, to show that I was getting pregnant. And I never took it off during the day because it was a leotard and it was too hard to take off. So I'd go out to lunch and everybody treated me like I was pregnant. And my breasts grew, I'm like a C, and my breasts grew to be like a D while I was pregnant. They had to get me new bras. And then I had the baby and I went back to my normal size.
But the mind and the body, that's wild, the
Isn't it
connection.
amazing? And then I had another experience. I've had so many experiences, but I had a doctor had told me I had melanoma, and she said I needed to get it removed. And so I had the plan to go remove it on a Tuesday, and I was at the grocery store on a Friday, and I ran into somebody that I knew socially. He was a doctor, and he said, "You have a melanoma," and I said, "I know." And he said, "You need to get that removed." And I said, "I'm going on Tuesday," and he said, "You cannot wait to go on Tuesday." He said, "Come to my office tomorrow and I'll remove it." And I said, "Okay." And I went home and he scared me, you know. And so I went home and I meditated on something that just to calm myself down. I wasn't trying to cure it or do anything like that. I just wanted to feel soothed. And I soothed myself all that day and all that night. And when I woke up in the morning, it was gone. And I called him and I said, "It's gone." And he said, "I don't believe you. Come in anyway." And I said, "Okay." And I think there was no evidence. There was no sign that it had been there. It was completely clear, normal skin. And when I got to his office, he looked at me and he said, "Jesus Christ, I've never seen anything like this before in my life."
You're like, precisely.
I am living proof right now. Meditation works.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we have to ask about the OM meditation.
Orgasmic meditation?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Orgasmic meditation is, there's a company named One Taste, and they teach orgasmic meditation, and I've been practicing it for a long time, for
Well,
like
we want to hear about that. We want to know
6
more.
or 8 years. What do you want to know?
I don't know, but I mean, I did watch the video.
Which
on
video?
One of, there was one where a couple went in, and they watched another couple, and there's supposedly like 10 points on the woman's, you know,
There's so
area
many
that are,
points.
yeah,
There's so many more.
yeah.
So
Well, I want to know. I want to know, like, what is that exactly?
it's a practice where the sensation, it's a practice where two people, usually a man and a woman, have their attention on where the sensation in the body is, and they're looking for physical sensation. So the man will be touching a woman in a very specific way, very tiny touches, and it causes, like, the whole attention is to be there. So they call it meditation because you've got your attention on some particular focus, and then what it does is it just, I mean, I've always been, like you were talking about the different modalities that people seeing or hearing. I've always been very kinesthetic. I was a gymnast and acrobat. I'm just very
You have to
in
do
my
it
body.
all. It's incredible.
But so it causes people to be more in touch with the pleasure that's in your body, and it causes people to get out of their head. I had already been out of my head when I started practicing it for the most part, but for people who are in their head, it really helps for that kind of thing. And it's just a beautiful practice, and it's both the man and the women get so much benefit from it.
Right. They say that
Yeah.
1 out of 10 women can never ever reach orgasm in their entire life. Right. That's what it said on something, and I'm like,
Oh,
wow,
wow.
that's amazing. And they say also that 75% of women can't have an orgasm with intercourse. So I would imagine doing that meditation really, gets people in touch with a whole other level.
You know,
there.
it takes it out of the goal.
Yeah. Right.
Because a lot of times people have a problem with experiencing pleasure because they're so focused on an end goal, just like what you were talking about with meditation. But in this practice, it's not about, am I going to climax at this moment? It's about, what sensation am I feeling? How good does that moment feel? How does this feel? How does this feel?
I think it's just goal, this principle, and it's something that I know I've struggled with my whole life is, you want to achieve things in life, or you want to accomplish things in life. And I've often found that when I let that go and was like, Rob, just focus on appreciating the moment, enjoying the moment as much as humanly possible, no matter what it is, and that goal seems to arrive more quickly, or the achievement happens. And it sounds like a theme for you, right, in all forms of meditation. So is there any recommendation that you would have for folks that, let's say, are having any of these challenges and they're having a problem staying in the moment? Anything that you would recommend in order to stay in the moment so they can achieve?
Yeah, putting your focus on something small. If you're doing meditation, you can literally put your focus where the breath is coming in and out, and you can feel it'll come through one nostril more than the other. It'll be warm as it comes out and cool as it goes in, and you'll just feel, if you just like hold it on this little, it's like a little tiny geography, and that, and you just keep coming back. So you'll get a thought, and you just let go of the thought and gently come back. And there's no shame. It's kind of like that childlike, when kids are coloring or they're playing in some way where they're focused. That's the kind of energy it is. There's no, it's not serious. Meditation's not serious. Let yourself move. Let yourself be comfortable. And either something small that's a physical sensation, or a mantra that's just a repetition. You don't have to repeat it with any rhythm or anything like that. You just have the mantra, and the mantra will go away at a certain point, and then you're just in that state of, but it doesn't always go away, but it can go away. You're just in that state of being bliss state.
I love that.
If people want to live in a state of chronic pleasure, as you have so eloquently mastered, how can they work with you and find more information?
Well, you know what's fascinating? People can come to my website, which is called Yummy Meditations. But one of the things that's so cool is that our brain has what's in it, these things called hedonistic hotspots. And they're pleasure centers that are entirely devoted to pleasure. And so when you incorporate anything that gives you pleasure, whether it's petting your dogs or having great food or having physical sensation that's fun, or something that smells good, or meditation, anything that gives you pleasure, it starts to fund these centers in the brain. And then the more that you fund them, they end up like growing and growing and growing, and those centers can actually take over pain centers, so that even when you have some sort of an injury or a whatever, it doesn't, you get the pain to say, oh, move away from the coffee table, don't hit it. But you don't have lasting pain. And so your body ends up becoming just inundated with pleasure if you do it a lot.
Sign me up. I
Right?
accept the challenge.
We want more of that for sure. Well, thank you so much for all your work, and it's so
Oh, my
beautiful
pleasure.
to just really feel like I really feel that you love us and you love life. It feels very genuine.
Thank you.
Yeah.